You're on.
I'm on. Okay. Well, we'll talk about spalting today. It could be a short talk. It could be fairly long. The simple part of it is, if you put wood, get it wet, leave it dark somewhere, it'll spalt.
Okay.
All right, talk so
Let's
we're-
go home.
But if you want to learn more, this book is the Bible. Sarah Robinson's given us a talk, and it's 300 pages of stuff. But it has 4 methods in here for how to spalt. She has a how-to in here. But it also talks about the history of spalting and wood through the ages, and our recent past of in this country of doing spalting and turning. So we'll kind of go over some of those pieces. History is, people have been using it for a long time. In marquetry through the centuries for things. They've used also the fungus, which gives them color, has been used. It's an old system. It just doesn't translate too well nowadays because we've got chemicals. We could easily dye it. Why do we have to mess with the fungus? But in the late 70s, Mark Lindquist and his son published a couple of articles in Fine Woodworking directly about spalting, how they did it, what was involved. And Mark had been turning pieces, doing some in craft sales, whatever. But he turned spalted pieces as a trial, a lark, whatever, and they sold immediately. He started getting recognition. Suddenly he was doing nothing but spalting because it sold and it made him world famous, effectively. Because plain bowl versus a spalted bowl, the spalted is going to win. Just, that's kind of how it goes. How many plain bowls can you have in your life? But if it's interesting, you get to charge more. That's simple, the way it goes. So after that, David Ellsworth took it, started doing it. Now he's known for spalted pieces. And he's got a world reputation for it. James Krinov did it in furniture, and Dale Nish, Kip Christensen, all these now famous turners, they specialized in it, did a lot of it. It works out because there's a lot of wood out there. Yes, there's a very nice figure, a quilted maple and other things, but spalting, you can take the plainest, boring piece of wood and do something nice with it. Now it's a crapshoot. Heck, have a coin and flip it. Is it going to turn into something nice? Or you wait a little bit too long and it's punky that you could squeeze. So it's something about art. It's going to depend upon so many factors. The idea of, we're going to give you a specific formula. You do this and this and this and this and this, and you will exactly get black spalted lines running all the way through it. No. The wood changes, the temperature is the difference, the density of the wood, time of the year, how wet it is, all those things play into it. So you're just as easy to get these kind of bowls by one, cutting down a tree, letting somebody take the nice clean firewood sections and start the pieces that are starting to go, have a little bit of coloring, take those, cut those up. And the other thing is, get wood wet and leave it alone. So the methods, there's 4 methods in here. 2 of them require labs and scientific experience. Not my idea of fun. And I don't happen to have that kind of a lab, or a lab at all. But anybody can do this. The simplest things are what David Ellsworth did was, and Sari describes this in the book. Dig a little bit in the ground, a few inches deep, put some wood in it, put sawdust on it, around it, and the internet will tell you, well, put a little compost or a little horse manure in there, throw that on it, get it wet, leave it wet, put a bag or plastic over it, that way it'll keep the humidity in there. And you go and you check it. White rot will go through a piece, kind of, I should say in weeks. It'll make an impact in weeks. With white rot,
What's white rot?
white rot is, it's a little, this white section is white. The white rot itself doesn't give you lines. It will give you more of, oh, this is the better piece of it. You see, this is myrtle wood, it's dark. This is white rot. Kind of a splotchy white, but it's a different character. But at that point, if you've got it and it hasn't gone very far, the white rot hasn't done much damage. But the difference between at that stage where it's workable and this stage where you've got sponge can be a matter of weeks. If you've got the right conditions, the right temperature, in which case then it's toast, unless you want to spend a lot of money to impregnate it with acrylic or super glue or work with it. So, but what you want is other kinds of fungus, and there are obviously thousands. We want the fungus that eats and likes wood. One of the things Sari talks about in here is people came up with all kinds of things to put on it. Well, coat the wood with this, or with cow manure or something. It seems counterintuitive to me. And she explains, one thing is fungus, like everything else, is lazy. You give it something it really likes, it's going to eat that, and then it'll eventually get to your wood. But the other thing is, cow manure is from an animal that doesn't eat trees. It eats grass and hay. That's not quite the same kind of fungus that I'm looking for in the wood. So, the best thing is, for those of us that don't live out near the woods and the forest where the fungus spores are in the air all the time, if you're in the city, go to a park, a nature park kind of thing. Just pick up a couple of handfuls of leaf mold, dirt, duff, because that carries those kind of spores. Get it wet, mix it in with your wood. So one of the things that Ellsworth did was stack all his wood, left a little bit of space between them, filled it with sawdust that was from other spalted pieces, so you know the spores are there, cover it up, wait. Except for white rot, which is also shows up well on this one. This is the white rot. But the lines of spalting are where two different funguses meet. So some fungus is strong enough they'll eat other fungus. But if they're somewhat equally matched, they will put a line, a demarcation line. It says, this is my territory, that's yours. So they build their little great walls between it, saying this is my territory. And those are the things that we generally like the best. Different funguses will also give different kinds of lines. Some are a straight, little, thin, black line. Some of them are fuzzy brown lines. This one has a bunch of fuzzy ones. You don't know. Unless you want to go to the scientific portion of this, you can buy petri dishes with different funguses, just the exact kind. You can then take those and, just like a starter system for sourdough bread, you keep it live. You keep making more of this. You can make more and then you paint that on. And by the way, don't end seal them if you want the fungus to attack. So it's kind of counterproductive. But otherwise, you can take those, UVO, or no, OSU, where her lab's at, they will sell you those fungus. Send you little petri dishes things that you can use. And they have colored fungus that'll give dyes, kind of pastel colors, pastel blues, pinks, reds, and greens. You can buy those as well. But the fault lines,
Sounds like you'd have to have that, like, doing that in a very kind of controlled environment to keep out any other fungus that might be, like the white line or the bad fungus.
yeah,
Or-
it's still going to be a crapshoot.
Yeah.
You still coat it with the fungus that you want, but other fungus is in the air. It's all over.
Is
So
there
it
any
will get
chemical
ugly.
that you can use to treat for the bad fungus to not?
No.
Okay.
Not worth it unless you got a sterile room that you want to have a lab and do it, which is impractical.
Sounds pretty awesome for us to do here, Dave. Continue. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'd let you come over and do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could throw tarp on any of that stuff out there.
like that.
So when you say coat it, what do you mean? You have to mix it with something and,
In reality, for that, you would probably
They'll stay wet.
put it in some water just so that you could spread it out easier.
And they just,
Put it in a mixer, just a wet rag, wipe it off, put it on, coat the ends of pieces and around it. Or the other method for simple methods of putting it in the ground is also just buy a container, black box, plastic container like those or something. Put 2 inches of water in the bottom of it. Put a couple of 2x4s so your wood is technically not in the water per se. Put them in there, get them wet, put them in your garage. The temperature range should be about 70 to 85 degrees. That's their optimum kind of growing. Now at nighttime it's going to get cooler here. Yeah, okay, it'll slow down, but they'll keep going. But you keep it in that kind of temperature range. So if you've got it in a garage, most people's garages aren't really fully heated, never fully frozen cold. So that's a good place to do it. Put the lid on it, come back and check on it every so often, see what it's doing. You expect and should get a black mold kind of on it, but it can be also fuzzy greens and blues, all kinds of stuff. Just kind of like you have in your, the office kitchen where everybody gets those science experiments, same kind of deal.
So we want that kind of mold.
You want it.
Black mold.
Yeah. Any kind of that, it will, if you really like it, save all your chips from it.
so when you check it, do you rotate it or just leave it?
Now, one thing I'll disagree with Siri on, in her descriptions, is you stack all your wood tight, no spacers, just do that. I found that some of that fungus will act as a very nice glue, and you'll find that you're going to have to cut them apart. So I would leave a little bit of gap between them, but if you were to take shavings from pieces that have spalting or rotten wood and put those in a cool wet space outdoors, kind of on the ground so it stays, put water on it. Develop your own starter system. Take the sawdust, chippings, let those get fungus so that for the next batch you have all this black and funny colored shavings. Put it in between all these boxes, and it'll go faster.
So that piece you had there that was spongy,
Yeah,
that would be good wood to put in for fungus?
this is probably so old it's dried. I don't know if the spores will be active anymore.
Okay.
But if you go out to a forest, anywhere, a park, you're going to find branches and stuff on the ground that is rotting. those are active, especially if it's got growth on it.
You said earlier that you take your wood, bury it in the backyard with chips and manure and all that, and keep it wet. How wet? Damp? Soaked? What?
30 to 35% is what the optimum is
Okay.
for that. So, you know, I've got a moisture meter, but it only goes up to 20. So I just get it wet. Now, rather than containers, I've got quite a bit of wood. I just use black plastic bags. Put the blocks in there. I put them between stickers, put a stack, put a bag in a bag, put some water in it, wet everything down, and no end seals, close it up, and okay, I'll come back and check it, yeah, in the fall.
Or you just do like a little column kind of thing.
Just, I'll check it whenever I go, oh yeah, I haven't checked that in a month or 2 or 3.
So what does the manure do?
Smells good.
Yeah.
That's where you're getting a little bit of the fungus.
It carries its own fungus and stuff. I'm just not sure it is predominantly the right kind of fungus, because I said cows don't eat wood. So that's the kind of fungus I want, is the ones that eat the wood.
So you want beaver poop?
Absolutely.
Hey, John, where'd John go?
No, you can get it from the zoo.
From what animal is the best spalting?
That's, that is something that had never occurred to me.
They clean out the cages, yeah.
Dude, someone will buy that.
Quite probably, somebody will buy anything. Yeah.
When you go out to check it and it's covered with all this fungus,
Yeah.
you wipe it down to see what it looks like, or how do you, when you check it,
It's
what are you
not gonna,
looking for?
you're not gonna know that way. The only way would be to take a piece,
I just wanna know what checking means, you know, how do you?
oh, for the most part, I'm going, can I stick my finger in it? Is it black? It looks like it'll have some character. Then if you wanna really check it, then you could go, okay, let me, you know, slice off 1/8 of an inch, see what's started. You could slice off the edges and see, oh, is it coming through? Oh, it didn't go very far, or something. But for the most part, what we're going to be looking at is the inside of that block, quite a way in. So unless there's quite a bit on the outside, you can assume it hasn't gotten to the inside yet. So if it isn't gone soft or punky, let it go for a while.
So, another thing is, we talk about spalted maple a lot. And
Yeah.
Where I live, we have a lot of big leaf maple,
Yeah,
which rots really easily anyways.
yeah.
And then, would it be fair to say that different woods rot at a different pace? You know?
Oh,
So for
definitely.
instance, I got a white oak log that had been sitting on the ground for a while. The sapwood is gotten spalted, but the heartwood is fine.
Yeah,
And the sapwood tends to rot faster on most woods anyways, right?
it does, yes.
Because it's just softer.
So, because there's more sugars and nutrients in the sapwood, which the fungus wants. So it will definitely go there first. And if you put, for instance, you put the growth ring so that the tree would grow this way, set it in this way in the water, etc., it's more likely to kind of absorb and go in it than setting down.
Could you actually do
level.
dyes if you, I mean, like dyeing purples or whatever, and
Yeah.
think it would actually, if it's a green enough wood, flow up enough, like actually suck up that way?
It's not spalting.
Different ideas.
That's just a
but
random thing.
It can work, but it's slow. I put maple into a tank that had high tannic acid and with rust in it, and turned it gray. It took, after about a year, it was about 1 inch into the wood. It's totally soaking wet, just leave
Like
it
submerged.
submerged. After it eventually got about so deep, It was big blocks of wood.
So it's all just wood specific on
Yeah, it is.
When you're doing your spalting, so I have just a lot of like 4-foot logs at my house.
Yeah,
And it's all barked and end sealed and stuff like that. And so, but you're talking with your spalting is actually bowl blanks.
that's another piece.
Because I can't see the wood or see what's happening
Sure.
with it. So
Well, the other thing is, certainly it depends upon the thickness of the piece of wood. If you're putting in 1/2-inch boards, you don't leave it a month, because it may not be there when you get back.
yeah, so mine's all just this stuff.
So it's gonna take more time the bigger it is. If you want your logs to spalt, cut the ends off. And, remind me, when we talk about, you've got it spalted, now you gotta dry it. Different technique. But I would cut the ends off. You're already gonna get stuff coming in through the bark. The bugs will carry fungus in with them. They never wipe their feet when they go in the wood. They always leave fungus everywhere. So that's also something that will go and happen. But for logs, I would unseal the ends, get them wet, put a tarp over.
I guess I
something.
could put it in just a plastic bag like you have,
Put
just a
some plastic bag.
big construction plastic one.
Yeah,
So I assume, while you may not have to go to the wearing a hazmat suit, you should probably be wearing rubber gloves and an N2 mask when opening up that bag and with all that fungus and spores.
we've got doctors here. Yeah,
I was gonna say, we live in the Northwest, there's spores all over the place,
Yeah.
right?
there is.
Yeah, but you're talking a real concentration.
Very few fungi actually have pathological consequences.
Oh, right.
Siri
The
talks
fungi-
about that in her book.
Yeah.
It does. Fungi eat wood. We're not made of
How
wood,
airborne are they?
so they're not really
Oh, you get the spores
interested
out whether
in
they're
us.
germinated or not.
So the black spores that,
Don't, and
that you hear about,
there are
that
very few flesh-eating.
Mold.
whole houses have to be
The ones
fumigated
we
or
have around
whatever,
here are the ones
that's not
Yeah.
what we're talking
You have
about.
to, you have to go other
You're not gonna
places.
grow.
Yeah, isn't mold a
No,
different?
no, actually, the southwestern
Yeah.
United States is.
That's, yeah, that's mold, already versus comes with fungus and stuff.
So are you saying it's best to start with a full blank rather than a partially turned bowl?
How much time do you have? If you want to go faster, rough turn the bowl and then spalt that. It's
So
gonna
it's
go
just the
much
thinner
faster.
the wood that you have,
Okay.
Yeah, because you don't have
the
as much
faster it's gonna
to go
happen.
through.
Goes from the inside to outside.
And
That's-
you know that it will get into the center of the bowl. As a rough blank, it came through the edges, but it didn't get into here.
That's how fast it was.
Well, it didn't have enough time. So,
Okay.
rough turn it, put it in the bag, let it spalt. As it is doing that, it is actually drying in its own way. As it decays, it releases the water. You'll find that once I've had it in the bag, spalting, whatever, for months or whatever, I don't really have to go through a full process to dry it. I don't shock it by coming straight into a low humidity house or shop, but it goes faster in terms of drying. It's easier to do it then.
So if you rough turn it, do you follow all the same procedure with a couple inches of water and all that, or is it already, if it's rough turned and was rough turned green, is that enough moisture right there for the spalting, or do you want to add moisture to the bag or whatever?
For instance, that myrtlewood, that was already starting to go in the tree. So it's already partially done, and it was partially dry. I added the water, it would need water for that, to get it up to 30, all of it up to 30%. Then I would take the shavings that I had, I packed the inside with shavings, turn it upside down, put more shavings on top of it, and then it's in a bag. So it's surrounded.
By wet shavings and its own moisture, and that's enough moisture.
Yeah, usually that's enough
That
moisture.
was my question.
But if you're dealing with something that's already kind of dry and There's a season, by the time you rough turned it, it's drying on you already. I will add water to it for that. And the chips that you've just pulled out, well, they've been in the shop, you know, for a few hours, whatever, and they've been exposed, they're drying.
Because the fungus isn't gonna grow for that. It
No.
doesn't have the moisture, it doesn't have, it's not
No,
the
you've
great.
taken those shavings down below the 30% they
Yeah.
need to work. So-
Speaking of funguses, would like mushrooms, if you throw the, dump like a whole bunch of mushrooms in there, would they work?
Depends upon the kind of mushroom.
Like go to the store and just grab a
But
bunch of
no,
mushrooms.
you're
I
on,
like one on the ground. I like all over the ground. Do we find all over the
if
ground?
it's growing on trees,
Yeah.
that's a good one. If it's not growing on trees, no.
Dave, can I put a plug in for you?
Definitely.
A quick one. You're wonderful.
I
I only listened to half of what he said, so. All right. We were out cutting, and this is oak,
Oh, okay.
and this is garbage oak.
What?
It was so bad, we gave it away. Seriously, he took the trunk part, suspicious, I should have known. Anyway, I took a piece out of the middle because he says, Don, Spalting. I go, oh, shit, I don't know anything about spalting. So I just, seriously, I took those 3-ply Home Depot bags, you know. I put some chips and some manure, composted manure in this thing, and I forgot about it. And that was last May.
That's the
Okay,
best way. Forget
and
about it.
Dave says check it and all this stuff, you know, well, I go to sleep at the wheel a lot, but I couldn't quite hear all that. So, he said, it'll be all done no matter what, done by September. That's 3.5 months. So I put it in my bag, I mixed manure, that was it. Sealed the bag, put it in my shop and walked away, and I woke up in September, and I opened it up, and it was black as shit. And I go, oh yeah, Dave, I burnt my bowl up, you know, that's great, spalting. And so I cleaned it off a little bit with wire brush, set it back on the shelf. I put a little sealant on it too. I put it back on the shelf, and then when he was gonna do this, I decided I would right quick turn these bowls, maybe there's something in there. And I'm not kidding you, this looked like shit, and I cleaned it up,
It looks
and
terrible
finished
still.
turning it.
I hate it, Don, it's bad.
And it was beautiful, and I said, Dave, you gotta go tell people, this was garbage, and it is beautiful. I didn't want to put any of that filler in for finishing. This is just with tried and true, but that is so beautiful. So, one more thing, Dave, I'm sorry. No, I have some myrtle. Okay, this is myrtle. And I go, myrtle is the most exotic wood we got around here. And I said, well, that's a piece of shit too. It looks like oak almost, you know. That is no fun. And so, you know what I'm going to do with it? Spalt it. Just like he's telling us to do. I can take this piece of myrtle, spalt it in anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks if I put it in plastic. But anyway, so
Hey,
that's
Don.
how you take a
Are you
cheap...
gonna put it in the same bag that you did the oak? Like the same?
No, I'm using the chips out of the myrtle that are wet, and then I
Okay.
just put them all in
So,
there.
would
But
you
I add the
use same
manure
wood,
in.
or like a different wood, or is
You
it
could.
crapshoot
Doesn't
kind
matter.
of thing?
Watch, wait. Anyway, I was shocked at what he told me to do. I really was, and everybody looks at this, and you take a look at this little item right here.
Yeah.
That is to die for. That looks like out of a dinosaur book, you know? And it's just, you can't beat that with anything you can do to wood.
Now think of how much better these would be if you listened to everything he said.
Sorry, Dave, but we need to listen.
Yeah, Don, listen. Quick question on that, because that's, I was kind of making fun of it, but why is that on that oak, like those white streaks and stuff in there? Because I've had that happen. I have no idea why that didn't take color or has such a different color in there.
Because it's the white one.
That's the white rot causing that. This bowl should all be standard brown, like that,
Yeah.
but this is fungus doing its job.
Okay.
And this dark stuff is also fungus
So
doing
that
its
fungus
job.
won't take any color or stain or
That
Oh, it
particular
will.
fungus.
that particular one.
And
Okay.
that's the fungus that if you go another 6 weeks, it'll be dust.
Where it gets all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes.
I had no idea. Thank you.
It's, okay, yeah.
I've become neurotic about taking green wood and then sealing it real quick so it doesn't crack. So how do you
Yeah.
go from this moist state of growing the fungus to then drying it?
Partly, well, it's going to depend upon the wood. I'm going to say this tree was already going, it was dying, so it had actually started drying itself, so it's easy. I mean, I have less risk of it cracking because it already had started doing that. You get something that's really live green, it's a shock. It will lose moisture too fast unless you have put it into, you've really sealed it, kept it from evaporating too fast, one way or another.
So you seal its environment, not the wood, right?
Yeah, the bag seals the environment versus coating the wood.
Okay.
I don't coat most of the wood that I get because I put it in bags. I put it in bags to dry it anyway. If I want to spalt it, I just put it in wet bags. It's just kind of the difference, but I will do that. And after weeks or months, I'll kind of open the bag a little bit, let it breathe, maybe halfway close it, do that. So if it's really, yeah. And then after, a month or two, whatever, I just leave the bag open and let the air. I'm not in a rush to turn most things. I've got a wall full of wood that has been waiting for years. So I'm in no rush. I'm willing to let it dry slowly. And so I will just slowly open the bag, let it do that. The biggest thing is I'll get tired of it being in my way and I will move it. So restack it, move it, and put it on a shelf. In which case, it's done.
Okay.
So with that, so with Tammy, if she's doing the green wood and it's already at that 30, I was just asking, what's it, like a green piece of wood, is it 30 to 40, depending on what species or whatever, but it's already at that fungus level, or
Yeah.
should be, that she could just add some dirt and stuff in that bag as and could you
Yeah.
unseal it so it doesn't crack and still keep it unsealed on the other sides and still put the dirt in there and get the spalting, or would you not seal it at all and put your manure, dirt, or in that?
You take
to get
one
that
of the
spalt?
two processes. You either want to spalt it or you want it just to dry it. If you're just drying it, seal it, contain its environment. If it's in a room that's going to be slow to do it, if it's in a basement, putting it under your house or something, if you want to spalt it, you keep it wet. And
Okay,
do
so you're
that.
talking about green turning it,
But-
spalting it, then drying it.
Yeah.
As kind of two different
The other
stages.
thing you can play around with, I inadvertently did this. I had a piece of wood that came from my yard. It was big leaf maple. And I wasn't comfortable turning something that big, so Bill Keno helped me with it. And we partially turned it, and he wrapped it in shrink wrap. And I was still worried about turning it because it was so big, so I left it sitting in my shop for 14 months. And when I undid it and turned the bowl, it was totally spalted. So you can also just take a bowl blank that's kind of wet, shrink wrap it,
And that just naturally
and that
happens.
seals it. Yeah, you just go.
Yeah.
Naturally happened
Yeah.
in your shop, it wasn't dirt or anything.
No, no,
so-
it was just a wet bowl blank wrapped in shrink wrap.
Yeah,
And when I unwrapped it, it was like his charcoal. It was just totally black.
yeah.
Did you completely wrap it or just?
It was totally wrapped.
So
I
there's
see
already
it-
fungus present.
Different plastics. I deal with different plastics through my job in a sense. Different plastics have different breathing rates, permeability. And some of the shrink wraps, I've had pieces that, I've seen people that have done that and really said it was a great idea, and they cracked. Well, yeah, but you had, as you did this, you didn't have sealed edges. So you still have air moisture going between the layers and escaping, and it dries and cracked them. Some of them are fine, but some crack because that wrapping is not as tight as a Ziploc bag.
It'll just vacuum seal.
That works too.
Vacuum seal will take moisture out.
I think we should get one. Continue, this is great.
Yeah,
So as we get into summer, should it be out of the sun or
yes.
keep it in shade?
It'll get too hot, and you can get too hot for it, and that affects what you have it in, and it'll help release the moisture, which you don't really want. You want it to stay that way. So in the shade, in the darkness, black plastic bag so it's dark and wet, and keep it in that temperature range. 70 to 85 is optimal. Above and below, you kind of don't know.
So once it comes out of that black bag,
Yeah.
is it, you kind of wipe off the black as much as you can, is it then worth sealing to kind of slow down the drying process so that it doesn't crack, or is
You can either
the
use the-
patina kind of slowing down the drying process itself?
When you dry it, it stops the process of spalting.
Yeah.
So you can either use the same bag and just kind of open it up and let it breathe for a while and use that to slow it down, or you could and then in-seal if you want.
Okay.
At that point, the fungus and everything has penetrated the wood and all the outside, so you're going to get evaporation now through the sides more than you would have earlier.
Okay.
So it's in-sealed. Just the ends may not do the full job.
I see.
So, but that's a factor of size of wood, type of wood, when it's done, all these kinds of things. You can't do other than just look at it and go, yeah, I think I'll close it back up.
Yeah, sure.
But that's how you, drying anyway. Is it drying too fast? Close it back up, get it wet. Yeah.
What moisture content stops the funguses from growing further?
Below 30,
Lower than
below
30.
It's
20.
It's going to be, well, of the 3,000 funguses, some of them are good at 28 degrees, some at 25. So usually by 20%, it's done.
Okay, so if I check it and it's at 20%, I'll just take it out of the bag and let it go down to 12 or whatever we turn it at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do those funguses ever get reactivated by water? Let's say
Yes,
if that
but-
was a salad bowl.
Sure,
you're
let's say
putting wet lettuce
we
in.
go get this bowl wet. Now the fungus that was in the bowl will not activate it. It's dead.
Yeah,
But the new fungus that's in the air, if you just wet it, will
okay.
activate a new colony. So you can reactivate it that way if you go, oh, I let it dry out too much.
Go bury it again.
Yeah,
So on to follow up on your Joe, right? Yes.
Yeah.
His question is, if you turn something that has been spalted,
yeah.
let's say a rolling pin or a bowl that's going to be used for food contact,
Yeah.
and is there any, I know sometimes like if you sand spalted wood, that's not so healthy for you if you're not protecting yourself.
It's the dust.
Is it any different than regular sawdust?
No.
Okay, so,
It's
The
not
fungus
the
doesn't hurt.
fungus.
so from a food standpoint, the same kind of thing.
Well, from a food standpoint, let's say the rolling pin.
Yeah.
Okay, you get it wet, you wash it. No, it's not going to. It's
And-
eventually dead and
And the
dry.
dead fungus inside of it, even if
Now,
it's not
I will
activated.
say, if you put it in your dishwasher
Well,
and leave it in the dishwasher for a couple of days wet, you may get something interesting.
don't tempt me. No, my
You'll
point,
get a pissed off wife.
That's what
what else is new? So, no, I think what I'm hearing is, there's not, once it's been spalted and then dried, the fungus is dead.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be any different than any other wood.
No,
Right, it's still wood, and if there's a fungus and it has the right environment, it will eat it.
that is perfectly usable as a salad bowl,
Okay.
no problem.
What kind of wood is that?
Maple.
Do you have better luck with more porous woods as far as coverage and spalting, or have you not noticed that?
Walnut is more difficult to spalt. The chemical makeup of that
Yeah.
is just harder to do and get something interesting. Of course, black lines don't show up against something that's dark brown very well.
Yeah, sure.
The white rot does, and it will do a number on it.
The jugulone that kills plants from walnut shavings also kills fungus.
Sure.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
so it's a little harder to do. Otherwise, it is so dependent upon that piece of wood that day, in terms of how easy it is to spalt, how it will take it. My suspicion is redwood, with its open pores, open grain, will spalt faster than white oak because it's closed. I will tell you that Norway maples spalt faster than big leaf maples.
Interesting.
Don't know why. It's just a little bit of different character. It's a little bit softer. Softer.
What
wood.
about wood like Purple Heart?
No.
It'll
turn purple.
The tannin oil
Tropical
and
woods have
Purple
high
Heart
oil
is gonna
content.
be
They don't rot,
Yeah.
they don't spoil.
pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
it's also
So-
way harder than anything we got here.
Short answer is get it wet, get it in a dark place, leave it alone for a few months, and you'll get something interesting. What that is
Well,
coin flip.
Good job, Davey.
Hobby.